Well, hi, everybody. It's Jenny Norris, chairwoman for the International Association of Home Staging Professionals, coming to you live on our Home Staging Talk Show. And our weekly show is featuring different topics and different industry professionals. So I thank you for joining me. If you are just checking in now, I would appreciate all of you guys sharing with your people on your pages. So just hit the share button so other people can tune in that you might know. That would be greatly appreciated. And we have a great lineup for you today. So we have Courtney Schomburg, Andrea Chinisi, and Teresa Thomas, who are going to be joining us to talk about vacant home staging. So it's really exciting. So the Home Staging Talk Show Live is brought to you by the International Association of Home Staging Professionals. Those of you, if you've never heard about the International Association, our acronym is IAHSP. IHOSP is what we say, not IHOPs like the pancakes, but IHOSP. And our website is IAHSP.com. So check that out. We started this segment to the show to be able to just talk about the home staging industry and have a conversation with people that are in the industry and want to be in the industry. So this segment will be featuring those three guests, and then they're going to go off into a conference call line so we can still hear them. And then you, the audience, can actually tune in. You can select to be added to the show and the split screen, and then you can ask questions or share something that you want us to know. So it's very fun. All right, so with that, I'm going to add in our first guest, Courtney Schomburg. And she's coming in live.
Hi.
Courtney?
Hi.
Thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me.
Sure. So just tell the viewing audience just a little bit about you, where you live, your company name.
Okay, I'm with Enhance It Home Staging, and we're located in St. Louis, Missouri. This is our 11th year in business, and it's my mom and I are partners, and we started it together 11 years ago.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And how's the market there?
It's great. It's busy. We had a slow month in January, but it's definitely picked back up. It's great.
Awesome. Good. So one of the reasons I wanted you to be on the show is because you do really, really nice staging work. And when it comes to vacants,
thank you.
It's a whole different animal than just doing a consultation. So we have a series of questions, that we wanted people to learn from you. So how did you get started with vacants? At what point in your business did you add them to your process?
We actually started with vacants, and we didn't start doing occupieds until about 6 years in. Vacants was where it was at for us, and we actually started with builder spec homes. A lot of people call them inventory homes. We call them spec homes here. So when builders have a house that they need to sell and it's not a display, they would call us to come and stage it for them. And that was our bread and butter at the beginning. We worked with all builders. And once the market kind of tanked, that's when we kind of shifted our focus to realtors. And that's how we started in that part of the business.
All right, that's great. So when you did the spec houses, it was basically a house that the builder was a production builder you were working with, like a big name.
Yes, where they would build a few houses in their neighborhoods to get them sold, and they weren't selling so great, so our staging was helping out with that.
Awesome. So as you talk about vacant houses, actually go back to what percentage of your business right now is vacant versus occupied or consultation, would you say?
I would say, well, we have one person on staff that does all of our occupied consultations, and she probably does 10 consultations a week. And I don't really keep up with that side of it as much. I'm only focused on the vacant stagings, and we do 7 to 10 vacant stagings a week. So I would say at least 90% of our business is vacant.
Okay. And then someone asking,
how did where the money is for us.
Right. There is bigger money in vacants for sure. They're a lot more complicated to pull together than a consultation. But somebody's asking, how did you find your builders?
We actually had a home building background. My mom and business partner worked for a builder when we started our business, and that was the reason for starting our staging business in the first place, is there wasn't a company locally that was doing a great job. So she thought we could do it a lot better. And we were part of the HBA, the Home Builders Association. So we went to meetings there, and that's where we picked up our majority of our builders.
So people watching, the home builders, there's home builder associations or groups in just about every major city. So we're in Sacramento, for example, it was the Building Industry Association. They called it the BIA. So if you want to get to know builders, go where they are. So they have meetings, they have events, right. And get the more they see you and get familiar with what you do, then the more they're going to trust you to handle their business. So great.
And we started doing training for builders and stuff like that. We did training at the different kinds of meetings that they had. So the more builders that came to our training, the more that started using us. So that's, if you get in with an association like that and you sign up to be a part of the group, then they have you come in for different stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. How do you plan or prepare for your vacant? What is your process?
So we, when we get the phone call, we have MLS access. So we just access the property online and we look at the house right there, and we can give them a proposal via email without having to preview the property in person. So we send them out the proposal, and then once they agree to the pricing and the terms of the proposal, we make an on-site visit. And then at the on-site visit, we take our pictures and use our design plan sheet and put together a plan. Then we come back to the warehouse and use our digital inventory system to put together a design plan for the house.
So you said digital inventory system. So what is that?
It's just before there was any of these great inventory systems that there are now, we started kind of our own in-house thing, and we just have pictures of every piece of inventory. We move them from folder to folder. It's nothing high tech like there is today, and we've talked about getting into that, but it's a lot of work to inventory the amount of inventory that we have.
I know, that's always been my dilemma, because it's great when you start at the very beginning, but then having to go back and name everything and input it in there. I mean, it's painful process, but I know once it would be done, it'd be awesome. So that's good.
I know. We've talked about it.
Talking about it, you know, they were like, yeah. All right, so yeah. How do you?
Too much work right now.
So when you have your vacant for pricing, so I don't want you don't have to tell us specific pricing, but how do you, just kind of what your framework is, how do you come up with the pricing for your vacants?
So we take into consideration the square footage of the property, the rooms to be staged, the price of the property, and the term length that they want. So in our area, we have stagers that do terms unlimited until the house sells, no monthly, anything. So we have to compete with that here. So it's tough. So we offer a 30-day, a 60-day, or a 90-day plan, and they can choose from the three of those. If they're price conscious, usually they go with the 30-day plan, and then they go month to month after that. But we take into consideration all those other things and kind of program it to an algorithm. All of that goes into the computer, and it kind of tells us where we should be price-wise.
And when you're pricing, of course, factoring in, and people watching that are, just getting started with vacants, it's not just how much their inventory rental is or how much, time it's going to take. There's all these other factors that come into pricing. So does your algorithm, covers obviously probably the delivery, the insurance, all these different aspects that some people don't always think about.
Right. We have a fee that we can't go under. No matter what the price of the property is, we have to charge at least X amount in order to drive the truck off the lot. It's just the way that it is. So Once we're over that hump, all of that stuff is already included in our price, in our algorithm.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so it's staging day. So what is the process? How do you run your project on the day of staging?
So on the day of staging, I have my movers come to the warehouse at 8 a.m. and they prepare. Usually they load the truck the night before. So the truck is loaded and ready to go. They get everything else they need for the day, and they're out. And they're to the property between 8:30 and 9 every day. And then I have my lead stager, my assistant stager, meet them at the property at 9 a.m. And by the time the stagers get there, the guys have already unloaded all the accessories and are already bringing furniture in. So my stagers just come in, unwrap the furniture, place the accessories, clean the stuff. And usually it takes less than 2 hours to complete a full stage for us. if it's over that, I'm not very happy. I want it to be under 2 hours for time wise.
And that would be, so again, people watching, because some people sometimes think you have to have this huge crew on site, but so she has basically a lead stager, an assistant stager, and then she had the two movers getting the furniture in. But I totally agree. We don't usually stay more than a couple hours in a property to get it all staged. Once the furniture's there and in place, then it's like clockwork, because you have a plan that you came up with when you were pricing the property in the head, and then it's not rocket science for staging. So it's sort of like get the accessories in place, make it look nice. Now this, of course, wouldn't be a high house, could take longer because there's more rooms, maybe more things that have to come in and more details you have to address. But taking all day for a staging is just not wise, because you're losing money.
Right. That's exactly it. You're losing money. And I pay two of my stagers by the hour, so they know that they're coming to a staging. They're going to get paid 2 hours. Even if it's less than 2 hours, we still give them a 2 hour minimum, because we work so fast and we encourage that. But we usually do up to a 4,000 square foot house, but we don't do all of the rooms. We just do the main living area. So that's what we can get done in 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. We're like,
but yeah, it's just like clockwork. Everybody knows their job, and everybody goes right to it as soon as they get there, and it makes it seamless. So
are you on site?
I used to be, not as much anymore. Now I have trained my lead stager. She took over my position. So I'm here in the office doing a lot of other stuff these days. So I'm very rarely on site unless it's a builder display or a property that needs a little bit of extra TLC. But usually they're good to go every day without me.
Yeah. So again, that's, as your business has grown, you've realized where your time is most important. It's not necessarily at the house doing the setup, even though that's fun and creative.
Right.
So for a lot of business owners, we need to decide. So I'm not usually on site either. When you have a good team in place, they know what to do, and somebody needs to run the project. And so as long as they know where they're supposed to be doing, what they need to be implementing and so forth, it goes like clockwork. Someone was asking, are your movers full-time? Do you hire them? Are they independent contractors? Or
we have an interesting situation. We have an interesting situation with our movers. We actually have a friend of ours from way back in our home building days that owns a trucking company. So he provides us with a truck and two movers every day. So they are full-time. We just don't cover their insurance or their benefits or anything like that. We just pay for their time, which is really good for us, because looking into workman's comp and the insurance to have a truck and all of that just didn't work for our business plan. So this is great for us, not having the movers and the truck under our name. The two stagers and our logistics manager are under our company. They do work for us full-time.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So who's part of your team? That was kind of the next question. So you have your, how many team members do you have?
So we have my mom and I, who we started, and we're basically the office people now. Then we have our office manager, which is also my husband, and he takes all of the calls. He does all the proposals. He talks to everyone on the phone. Liz and I usually don't talk to any clients. That's all John. He does anything that comes through the office would be John. And then we have the logistics manager, the two movers, and then a lead stager and a assistant stager.
That's great.
And that's all for now. We're looking to hire another assistant stager, but for now, this is working.
That's great. And then, do you have a signature look for your vacants? Like anything that's like a, your stamp, that if somebody came into a property and didn't see signage or what have you, is there something that you guys do in a property that is just sort of your thing?
Yeah, and I like this question a lot. We love using neutral furniture. We use cream pretty much everywhere. And we always do a signature tray. So we always do a coffee table tray with some kind of flower on it and make it look enhance-ity, is what we say. And we usually put our Enhance It wine in every house. So we have bottles of wine that we have our logo on. And we put 3 bottles in every house together as a grouping. So that's something that you usually see in our houses.
So the wine bottles.
We also use a lot of blue.
Yeah, so are the wine bottles empty? They're just with the label?
No, they're full. They're real wine bottles. We soak off the labels and put our new labels on there. We have an assistant do all of that. It's a lot of work, but they look really good.
Yeah, so we use wine bottles, but ours are empty. Only because one time we staged a house, it was like a $2 million property, and at spring break, somebody broke in. These kids broke in, and I didn't have
Oh
wine
no.
bottle. I had martini. I had a martini bar set up, so I had the vodka and so forth.
Oh
Well, they
wow.
drank it, and then they proceeded to ransack the house. They jumped on the beds. They stole all my candles. They floated like I had this wood duck at the time. It was on a desk in the office. They put that in water. So they just
Oh
were really kind of destructive. And so it's because they were drunk on the alcohol I had
my.
provided.
Right. Yeah. That's not good.
After that, I
We
decided
haven't
no,
had that yet. Knock on wood.
exactly. So that's a great idea. The wine bottle with the label we say house wine, and then it has our contact info on it. So that's what our label has, our logo and so forth. But that's very, that's a great marketing branding item to have in the property. And then you said you use a lot of blue as your color.
Yeah, blue's been our color the past few years. We use a lot of neutral furniture and then blue accents and artwork and pillows.
Yeah, I like that look too. I love using blues, grays, creams together, and sometimes we'll go on the
Yes,
warm side. We'll go over to like grays, yellows, throw some orange and stuff in there. But I really do like it's such a calming color, blue, and it's
it is.
depending
I
on the
love it.
shade, it's definitely gender neutral as far as appealing to both sides. It's not specifically male or female, so which is great.
Right. Yeah. People connect to that color, I think.
So somebody who's new that wants to get into doing vacant houses, I mean, do you have any advice for somebody that's watching?
Um, I'm trying to think of what my advice would be. My advice is you have to make some sort of an investment at the beginning in order to make it worth your time. We started this with $5,000, and that's all we did. We borrowed it from my dad. We started off with $5,000. We bought all the furniture, which was way more than that, but you have to start off somewhere. So if you're going to own the furniture like we do, make the investment and pay it off as you go. It's the best way to do it.
Right. Absolutely. Well, great. And then Joseph.
Yeah.
Hi, Joseph. Oops, I dropped my pen. I guess I don't have to get that. I'll leave it on the floor. Why not brand an opera wine as a raffle or a centerpiece as a way to market? So that's, yes, anything, that's a great idea for anybody watching. You have houses you're doing, make sure to brand yourself in the properties. And I used to have signs that would say this house has been staged by, our company and so forth for information how we can help you get your house prepared for sale. Please reach out to us. And I had signage. So then I got kind of lazy and we were doing the wine bottles, but I'm back to doing the signs again too, because you can get added business by branding yourself in the property. So whether it's a staging item you use, it has your logo on it, like a wine bottle, or some other item that you put in there. And so he says, do we blatantly advertise at a stage location? We don't usually advertise at a stage location. This is Joseph asking that question. The realtors are the ones marketing the property, so they're going to be the ones promoting it. And so we have to be mindful of that they're the star at the house because if they're listing.
Right.
So we can have our signage in there, but the stager is usually a second tier performer in the whole production. So we have to be a little bit more subtle with how we brand ourselves because it's not all about us, it's about the property and ultimately the realtor who's listing it. So
that's why
okay.
the wine bottles are good because they're not in your face. They're kind of at the side, so it gets our logo there, but it's not in your face. Call us.
Right.
But we have
Yeah.
done the signage before as well, like a little picture frame with our name in it too. And that worked really well.
Yeah, I just went to the dollar store and I got picture frames from the dollar store. I picked up like 25 bucks. They're pretty. They're silver framed. I got some that were gold. And then you just print up a little, where's my little thing? This is what it goes in it. This is going to be backwards, but it's this size. Let's see. Can you guys see that?
Yep. Perfect
And,
size.
yeah, and so it just has, this house has been professionally staged by your company name. For help in preparing your house or listing for sale, please give us a call. List of services, contact info. I know it's backwards, but that just goes in the frame. And so it's a subtle way of promoting yourself without. I love that
Liz
label.
just brought our wine bottles in.
That's
This is
awesome.
our bottle.
Yeah, I love that.
It's
Yeah, that's great. All right, so thank you so much for being on. So I'm going to have you move over to the conference call side.
Sure.
And so we're going to
Okay.
call in there. And then I'm going to bring on Teresa Thomas. So we're finished with Courtney. So I'm going to go ahead and cross you out. Bye, Courtney. Thank you so much for being on. say goodbye. All right, and now I'm going to add Teresa. Let's see. How do I do this? Invite friends. Okay. Teresa, I think, Teresa, you can also request to come on. That might be easier because I think I already invited you. There you are. You're invited. Okay. Here is a request. So Andrea, if you're watching, Andrea Chinisi, can you please request to be added because I didn't get you on the
Hey.
Hey.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So Kevin says, I leave behind a small frame with our logo on it. An acrylic block frame looks great and discreet. It also clearly identifies the property's been professionally staged. We do. So Joseph, we use pamphlets, postcards, and other takeaways. We do. So we have marketing collateral material that can be put in a house. So usually it could be a postcard. We could put brochures or even business cards in there.
Hi.
But part of it again is that the realtor has their signage, and so I've gone to houses where we put our stuff out and it ends up in a drawer sometimes because it's not about us. So with permission from the agent and also the homeowner, we can have promotional materials. Yeah. So correct. And everybody who's watching, if you could please again share this to your pages, that would be awesome. Because our goal is to reach as many people as possible with each segment, and it's going to grow and grow and grow. And the goal is to talk about the staging industry, have conversations that are meaningful and helpful to people. Somebody who wants to get into the industry is watching, or people that are currently in the industry, and just seeing their colleagues and so forth. That's the goal of the show. So Teresa.
Hi, Jenny.
Thank you for being with us.
Hi, Kevin. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Lindsay. Hi, everybody who's saying hi.
We have people from Europe. Europe watching.
Hi, Sonia. I saw you too.
Okay, so tell everybody your name and then your company name and where you're located.
I am Teresa Valier Thomas. My company is in Wilmington, Delaware. Delaware?
Yeah, and how long have you been in business?
Oh, 11 years. Be 11 years this October. Yep.
So same as Courtney. That's great. So how did you get vacants? Was that at what point in your business did you add?
Surprisingly, my very first staging was a vacant staging. I started 11 years ago. I took the IAHSP course in 2007, and I had no idea what I was doing. And everybody told me, start networking. So I started networking, and I kind of didn't have a whole lot of cooperative mentorship in the area. So when I went to my first trade show, which was a county board of realtors event, it was kind of like a wing and a prayer. And the first stager / investor that I got was doing vacants. So that's where I started with the vacants. And on those particular vacants, he bought the furniture and I supplied the accessories. And then from there is when I started investing in my own stuff. So
that's great. When I got started, it was 16 years ago, but there weren't no vacancies were being done in my market. It was a brand new, staging was brand new, so I did a lot of consultations and hands-on the first year. And by the second year, I did my first vacant, but it wasn't, there were no rental companies. We were, it was in a market where it just really was not known. So, you flash forward to where we are today, there's a lot of people supporting the industry, which is great. And lots of ways you can run your business. So,
well,
all right. So how do you plan?
Another thing too, Jenny, that first year that I got my IAHSP designation was the year I met you. And I did go to conference. I went to the educational conference in Seattle, which really gave me a huge foundation for being able to kind of, I'm not trying to sound like I did it, but I had nobody. I kind of had to figure out my way. And going to the educational conference, really, Kevin Tain spoke at that conference. You spoke. Barb was there. It was a fantastic educational thing for me. And not only did it teach me a lot, it also it gave me confidence in going and knowing that, hey, I was doing the right thing. And I had the right support in place.
So people are asking how to share the segment. There's a share button at the bottom of the movie where it's going on, the video, the live, and then select the invite button next to the people on your list to be able to share the video with people. So it's at the bottom. It should be at the bottom of the little, and I don't see what you guys are seeing, so I'm not looking at myself on my computer. So people are asking, where is the share?
I see the share button on the bottom left of the
bottom
screen.
left. Okay. Good.
Right
So
next
she's
to
talking
the
about
comment.
content. Yeah. So we actually have an educational conference coming up this fall in October in Charlotte. So it's the International Association of Home Staging Professionals Educational Conference and Expo. So it's October 18th, 19th, and 20th. And we have a great lineup of speakers. And she's absolutely right. I went to the very first one in 2003. I have never missed one. And you go, you meet colleagues, you hear great content. It's wonderful. And of course, our keynote speakers are the Scott brothers from HGTV's hit show, The Property Brothers. So really excited to have them there. Yeah, it's going to be great. So those of you that are interested in coming to that, you can reach out to us at IAHSP.com. You'll see the information on the event there. You can also just email me, Jenny, JENNIE, at IAHSP.com. So, all right. So Teresa, how do you plan or prepare for your vacants, your process?
Well, I mean, much like Courtney, we get the initial phone call. I don't generally preview online. I'm a visual. I got to go see, touch, walk through the house, get the flow, the feeling. And just like anybody who's looking, in my opinion, anybody who's looking at photographs online, you can't really get a scale of the room unless you're in it. So I do make that part of my protocol, that I get the phone call, set up the appointment. Sometimes the agent wants to be there or the owner wants to be there. And other times, more often than not, I have the freedom to go at my leisure and get the photographs. I write all the proposals. I go in and do all the office work. I'm still there, where I'm kind of wearing 17 hats in a day. So I go to preview the property, take the photographs, and in my head, as I'm there, I'm making the plan. I write everything down, making the plan as to what's going to go where. So and then I send the proposal, and then we see what happens. And to me, everything is, I can give a verbal roundabout, like if somebody's on the phone, if they give me square footage, I can go with the range of from here to here, but I would never verbally give a set in stone number as to what a staging fee is going to be before I see the property.
Right, because they try to hold you to it, and you can't price it unless you see it. Now, there are some people that do like price per room. So it's kind of, no matter what the property is, this room is going to be, a living room is $350, or this is $250, but I like to do it based on what I see they need. Mm-hmm. And Karen Dunkers, do you charge to preview?
It doesn't, I don't normally charge to preview. If I'm going to be there 10 or 15 minutes and I'm going to be just running through a house and doing a proposal, I do not charge to preview. If I do a consultation, which yes, I still do on my own verbal consultations too. If I'm going to be there an hour and a half to 2 hours, there's a consultation fee involved, and then they'll get the proposal. And no, I do not refund it back if they go into a staging contract with me.
That's good. Yeah, I don't charge to preview. I think it depends. Like, people will often ask that, should we charge a fee to preview a vacant property? So usually you're working it in to your schedule. Right. So you just come in when you're kind of in the area. Now, if it's like, 80 miles away or 50 miles away or whatever, you could charge a trip fee. And then when they hire you, you could credit that back, which of course you just build that into the overall proposal. So you're not really giving it back. But, the idea is that they feel like they're getting something. So I want that on there, get off. But most people don't charge for previews. All right. So how do you price your vacant?
It all depends, as I say, for everything. It all depends. Every house is unique. So trying to do a per room charge doesn't make sense when you're doing a per room for, say, like a 1,800 square foot versus a 5,000 square foot. You're going to use more furniture in that room. So every house is unique for me because I scale it down. So my proposals will have 2 or 3 options. So here's if we do these many rooms and we do a light staging. So I'll do 2 or 3 options so people get a taste and a feel of what the general cost of a staging is going to be. And I found that since I started doing it that way, I'm actually get when people have the choice of what they're going to do, they see what the minimal, the medium, and then the maximum is going to be. I'm actually doing better, because with that minimal price, people are going to just go for what they see. And just like a menu at a restaurant, they don't know what they can have if you don't show them what they can have.
Right.
So that's
Andrea,
why I do it that way. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Andrea, you're on. I see. So when we're done with Teresa, I'll add you to the split screen. You can only have 2 people at a time on. So I'm glad you're on. So I'm happy. All right, that's great. Yeah, because it's true. You can't. I like the idea of kind of giving them some options without being too confusing. And it's amazing because people think, oh, they're going to always go for the cheapest option. That's not necessarily true. There's a lot of people that say, I would like the higher option. I want the, I don't know what do you name them? Level 1, 2, 3, or
option
basic.
A, B, and C. It's just option A, option B, option C. It's still a 1-page proposal. And I found that since doing that, rather than trying to, as Kevin likes to call it, have the race to the bottom for the lowest price, what I've found is when giving them the option, most people are taking option B. So you're giving yourself a raise and offering that option. That's what I'm finding. So, your
That's
minimal
great.
is going to be very minimal. It's going to be 2 or 3 rooms, first level, no bedrooms, maybe 1 powder room. But then your second one will include more rooms, which will make, it just seems to make more sense. But just like any contractor that you might work with, the more work you include, the more you're able to budget it. Your budget makes more sense, because just like Courtney said, there's a certain price you have to walk out the door at. You can't, be doing any little staging here or there. So you have to have like your minimum. And then once you're there, adding a room or 2 more isn't going to substantially change the price, in the sense that it's going to be, a whole lot more money. It's just going to be a few more, whatever your fee is, more, and not that walk out the door bottom line price.
We'll often do like options for if they want, should we do our basement, family room, or what have you. So we'll profile that as an option. So I include the rental for that.
Well, my option C, my largest option is always the whole house. Soup to nuts, whole house. So you do absolute bare bones minimum, and then absolute whole entire house. And that way they get a feel. Okay, so here's my minimum, here's my maximum. If we fall somewhere in the middle that's going to be just enough, then they'll get it. And then I usually have a conversation with the client after that. I usually have a conversation with the client after the proposal goes out, and we chat about it a little bit more. Sometimes they're like, okay, well, how about if we take this bathroom off? Well, as a stager, bathrooms don't add a whole lot. You don't need a mover to move stuff in. It's accessories only. There's no large furniture. And we can take the bathroom off, but bathrooms and kitchens sell, and it's not going to substantially change your price.
Right. And Joseph is saying people tend to choose the middle price, so offer odd number of options. So like 3 options, not just 2, 3, or I think 5 would be too many. So I think 3 is perfect for our industry, because a confused mind says no. Okay, so how do you run your day for the staging?
You know what? Easy there, killer. That one excited you.
Oh my God, this thing like flew out of the holder. Sorry, everybody.
It's funny. So, generally we load up in the morning. I come from a background of having worked night shift for over 20 years before I started my staging business. So I am not well known as an early bird, kind of who I am. So we usually get started in the morning, and we approximate our time of arrival anywhere between 11 and 12, and then we're done. Ours don't take, right now we're still doing all the physical, me, my lead, and my assist. So we get everything loaded and we get down to the property, depending on where the property is. And right now I have 2 warehouses because I do the entire state of Delaware. So, the downstate can take us about an hour to drive down, sometimes an hour and a half, maybe a little bit more. But we know exactly where everything is. It's kind of funny. So we're not traveling up and down the road with different coastal furniture versus traditional or transitional furniture, which will stay up here. So we load up, we get to the property, unload, and staging can take anywhere from, 2 hours. I'd like to get them done in 2 hours, but, generally it's usually about three-ish or so hours to get them done.
And when you're
we do a lot
on
of
site,
detail work too, though. We do a lot of detail work. I'm, steamer, touch up all the furniture. We Swiffer and vacuum before we leave because we feel like if we drag stuff in, we should take it with us when we go. So I'm pretty adamant about that. So we usually, and then go ahead.
I would say someone's asking if you don't mind sharing, what is your minimum for the option one?
My
What would that, or
walk
give us
out
a
the door minimum? My minimum price for walking out the door to do the staging ourselves? Well, if it's an accessories, my minimum is an accessories package, usually around $800, $900. If it's one person can get it done. Because an accessories package would be an occupied home, or are you talking about a vacant? Minimum vacant?
Vacant. Yeah, or just, your services. So she's saying around $800 or $900 to go out the door. Because, we have operating costs. She has a warehouse, she's got trucks, she's got movers. And even though they might not be on that project, they have to be paid as part of the overall process of owning a company. So you all need to know what your walkaway price is. If somebody goes, well, I only want to pay $500, can you work with that? She'd say no, or, what are you going to get for $500? Might be a hands-on, a quick hands-on, but never let the client dictate your price. I've had realtors quote prices to their sellers saying, oh, it's going to be about X amount of dollars. And then I'm like, well, what did you even base that on? You don't run a staging company. So anyway, that's good.
Well, I think that a lot of people, see things on whether it's the internet or television, and they think they know, or they, and I'm certainly not trying to undermine anybody. I just feel like they want to be a source of information, and they go based on what either what they think it should be or what they've heard it is secondhand, whether it's internet, television, or another agent.
Yeah. And a lot of the shows never told them out for the staging. Now they're starting to share some of the staging amounts, but some of them are just outrageous. I mean, I think last segment I talked about the Millionaire Listing Los Angeles. A staging that they did was $1 million, which is this massive house. But I think that was more of a design project. Can you imagine? I've been there. But I think it was a design project because it was all the furniture. It wasn't like overdone. There wasn't like a ton of accessories in there, but it was a big old house. And so Kevin Tain, as a lot of you may know, he's on Flip or Flop, doing there in Los Angeles. So he's out of Long Beach. And luckily, they do show the staging investment. Now, I don't know. I've never actually asked you, Kevin, whether that actually is the amount that you charged them, or if that's just an amount they're putting on there for television. But at least they're putting something out, which is great. And as Joseph asking, do you have a 3-tiered pricing, based on different packages where there's vacant, occupied, etc.? Do you have a 3-tier pricing for everything, or just as
Usually I do. Usually I have a 3-tier pricing for everything. Although, well, I say 3-tier. Occupied home is a little bit more difficult. We say, okay, well, we can do, because when with an occupied, I don't just walk in and do a preview and write a proposal. I've already done the consultation, so they already have all the steps they need to do. And more times than not, you do get to, I tell them, like, maybe we won't get to that tipping point where it makes sense for you to use us as opposed to go and buy all these things for you to stage your house with. So the tipping point is usually right around what $800 would be. So if they need trees, florals, wall art, toss pillows, throw blankets, that kind of thing, then, at what point do we get there? Sometimes they need small furnishings, little accent tables and maybe an accent chair. Again, something that's not going to take the movers to do, that, a lead and assist can do it on their own. But usually I try to give them 3 options, but with an occupied, it's a little bit more difficult to get a 3 option out of it because they already have so much stuff they're working with.
Right. That's great. Okay. So, who you kind of talked about it, but share with us again, who is on your team?
I have, it's me. And then I have, 2 ASPs that work with me. I have Darlene and Rose. They work with me. And, we kind of have like hourlies, casual labor that I call in to help us do the moving. So right now it's just the 2 ASPs, me. Oh, I'm sorry, I have 3. Beth, sorry, I forgot Beth. Beth is more wanting to do consultation. She's a school teacher, so after school is out, she's going to start doing more. So there's 3 of us.
And I know you have Sean helping you.
Labor. Huh?
I know Sean helps you, right? Sean
picks
things up and
puts them down. No.
Thank God for husbands, right?
He's eye candy, you know, in my world.
You know, and I use John. I mean, thank God he's willing to go. Like yesterday, I had him at a house. We had to deliver a patio set, and so the guy, they brought a person out, but they only sent one guy. So then I had to have John over there to help him move it onto the deck and get it set up. And he's helped destage properties, and so he, you know, and when we do previews, oftentimes I bring him if it's in a kind of an area that it's sketchy or it's nighttime. I don't want to be by myself. I'm like, let's go take a drive. And
Oh, I
so
carry
luckily
mace.
he's
You
able
don't
to
carry
do it.
mace?
I have mace, but I don't carry it because I just know it would get used against me, or I would like accidentally pick it up thinking it was hairspray and shoot myself in the eye with it. It just
Jenny, they are getting near me. I'm going to tell you. You could be coming over to hand me $100 bill. If you look sketchy, done.
yeah. So anyway, so I don't carry that. But John did get it probably on my desk somewhere. But I just, you know, it's probably better that it's not. I don't have it in my car. So
That's great. So you'll just meet yourself at home instead of on the crime scene.
So Virginia's asking, talk about vacant lowest to highest pricing levels. So that's really market dependent, Virginia, because depending on where you live, you know, a low could be $1,000 and a high might be five. It could be, or a low could be 2,000 and a high could be 10. So it really just depends on the property, the market, what the market will bear, the price point of the property. There's so many factors that go into pricing a vacant. For most people, what I like what Teresa shared is she knows what her operational out the door bottom line price is, where she's not going to go do a staging unless it's X amount of dollars, because otherwise she's losing money, and it doesn't make sense to step out the door and lose money. So, you know, you need to understand your market as far as, you know, what the market will bear, but also what your bottom line operational costs are. So when you are running a staging and you have team members, you have a truck, you got guys, you know, the delivery, that has to be covered, your insurance, any overhead, you have to factor in just overhead costs of your business in general, like marketing, your education, your warehouse, your logistics, your insurance, things like that. So come up with a framework of what your bottom line is.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jenny, but you have to have that D stage figured in there as well. You can't at the end go, oh, by the way, now we're charging you more to get the stuff out. So your initial fee has to include all your labor at the end and your restock fees at the end, you know, and also keep in mind breakage. If anything gets broken, so there's a lot of other things to also, you know, factor in there.
Right, and like if the client breaks it, they're supposed to be, you know, paid for that. But if we damage it, that happens where we didn't get packed properly, or, you know, the guys are loading something on the truck and a leg snaps off, or they're taking out of the, I mean, there's all sorts of things that can happen. So then that's an overhead as far as repairs or replace that you have to factor in as part of your business overall, which is great. All right, what is your signature for vacants?
You know, it's funny, and just like when we talked about it at conference, I have so many different types of houses. I can't say I really have a signature. You know, what came to mind when I read that was I actually had a conversation with one of my investors, Jim Hartnett. Hi, Jim. He said to me, he said, Teresa, you know, I've been into other stage houses and the pictures look great when they're online, but then you walk in the door and they lose their dazzle. You know, because people are underpricing and undercutting, but they also, that comes in somewhere. So it's the quality. So, you know, I provide quality furnishings, quality accessories. I don't skimp. I mean, and I had the opportunity over the weekend to walk into one of the houses that he was talking about, because it happened to be 2 or 3 down that I was previewing, and I understood what he meant. Because when you walk into my house and one of the houses that we've staged, and we tell you that we use Pottery Barn furniture, there's Pottery Barn furniture. You're going to walk in and that's what you're going to see. You're not going to see, you know, IKEA. I mean, I literally walked into this house and it looked like one of those fold up beds that, you know, like the flip pillow things. Right. So I understood what he meant. So I would have to say that my signature is that our pictures and our quality stand up. When you walk in the door, you know. And that's, I mean, I don't really put anything in there. We do some advertising. We just leave business cards. I don't leave a whole lot. But people tell me they know my stagings when they see them, and I think it's just due to the quality. And when people try to finagle me on my pricing, I remind them that with Kmart prices, you get Kmart quality, and our prices are higher because our standards are higher. And I'll say that over again.
That's good. That's an excellent point. And even with like the tiered pricing, if people could say, well, you could even use the quality, like you have, some inventory that is going to go into a lower modest property versus your high end. Most stagers are going to have inventory that's going to be suitable for different properties. And so being able to say that, if they're trying to work you over on price, then you can say, well, you're going to get lower quality items. I don't think that's what you want for your property. Or if that's really what their budget is, then you have those items are going to go in and but I think there always has to be a standard that you stand behind your staging, and you do beautiful work. I mean, and one of the things that you do that I think you're the only one I know of, and correct me anybody who's watching if I'm wrong, but you also were offering a cleaning service post vacant, where because when a house is sitting vacant and let's say it's new construction, dust might settle down, or it's been there might be like bugs or something, flies in the windowsill.
Right.
So you actually go and clean, or have somebody, that's part of your service. It's an additional add-on service. The client pays for this, and
Right.
it's a cleaning service. Tell how you came up with that.
Well, actually, the cleaning portion now, I actually do kind of refer that out, but we do light cleaning because it doesn't matter. See, the way that I look at it and the way that my standards are is that when I have staged a house, when my company, when Rose, Darlene, whoever has gone in and staged that house, and you don't pay attention to that detail, it doesn't matter if you get pinned with it anyway. So when people walk in and see a staging and there's dead flies all over the ground and they knew you were just in there 12 hours ago and you left those there, how much do you care? And I think that's what mattered to me. When I started the staging company, which was the branch of the business, was about 5 years ago. And it was at a time where I had the crew and I had the time to do it. Life circumstances arose that I didn't have a whole lot of attention to pay to that, so it kind of fizzled. But now I just have a staging company that I recommend, and she'll write them the proposal and come in and do it. But as far as the light cleaning goes, we will handle that. Dust bunnies, dead flies, windowsills, whatever. We don't do a full-on stage cleaning anymore, though.
Okay. I'm looking at the time, so I'm going to let you go and bring Andrea on. But everybody say thank you to Teresa for being on. It was awesome.
It's been my pleasure, and I loved it. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Love you. Mwah. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Andy.
All right, Andrea. Okay. So Andrea's coming on. So that was great information. Thanks so far, Courtney and Teresa. Great information. Andrea, hey.
Hey.
Thanks for being on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Sure. So tell everybody real quickly your name, where you're located, and your company name.
Sure. So I'm Andrea Stewart Shanisi, and I am located in Houston, Texas. And my name of my company is Houston's Delightful Designs.
Great. And as the other two that were on as well, you guys all do really beautiful work. And Andrea, I'll pronounce the A correctly. She does a great job posting her pictures to the various groups that we have. And so she really showcases her talent by doing that. So I do encourage everybody that when you do a vacant house, post it to the different social media groups you belong to so people can see your work. And so her work is just really fabulous. So how did you get started with vacants?
So I started my staging company about 9 years ago. And, it just kind of progressed. The first several were either consultations or occupied stagings. And then, of course, I had realtors really seeing the value that staging added. So from there, it just kind of grew. And now we're full blown. I think last year at kind of the height of it, we had 35 vacant houses staged. So,
that's great. Okay, so how do you plan or prepare for your vacant stagings?
So obviously, I'm going to walk the property beforehand and get scale because that's really important. So I'll walk the property. I'll also make sure that I make a point of taking pictures of the fixturing. So whether it's the lighting, the faucets, because I want whatever I bring in to be seamless. to be seamless and it just flow in the space of the home.
So she's talking about like the lighting fixtures, faucets, poles. So if there's something that has a lot of the silver, you're going to bring in things like that as well, is what you're saying? So it all coordinates.
Yes.
Visually.
And then when I'm in the space, like almost immediately I can see what it is that I need to bring. Whether it's a sectional, I really love to use L sectionals or even square sectionals. Or, you know, flanking the fireplace, whatever the case may be. But normally when I walk in, immediately I know what it is that I want to use, that I have on hand, and then I kind of go from there. And then typically as the day begins, well, I think we're going to go into that. So I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, well, you go ahead. So, and Joseph's asking, how do we use social media for staging business? So most stagers are, you know, we stage a house, it's visual, so you have your before and after pictures. Those need to go up on your profile and your business page, to other social media pages. That's another segment we could have on one of these live shows, talk about social media, because it's super important and it doesn't have to initially cost money to get the exposure. So that's a great question. All right, so what is your process? How do you plan your day?
So typically what we do is the day before, I'm going to go in and I'm going to tag all the furniture that needs to go. We bring furniture in the day before and any large accent pieces. And then on day 2 is really when I'm on site and we do all the design work, bring all the accessories in and really get hands-on. So that allows us, if anything goes wrong with the furniture delivery, the truck breaks down, anything at all, that allows us some time to be able to course correct. So I think that that's really important. And then a lot of times what ends up happening is maybe the scale is not right. Maybe I need to add another piece. And so that gives us another day to be able to course correct and bring in another piece or change out a piece that maybe isn't working. You know, because most of the time I've walked the house and I've only walked it once. And granted, I'm taking pictures, but you know, my memory when you got 35 houses going, you know, it get a little shady. So we want to make sure that at the end of the day, when we walk away, right.
So Joseph's asking, sectionals, is it better to stage a home leaving a lot of open space or less open space?
So for me, I like to really feature the space. So I use a lot of angles. And Joseph, if you're not on, I can add you to my private Facebook page, which I'm happy to do, and you can kind of see some of the angles that I do and that kind of thing. But I really like to feature the space. I think sometimes less is more. So that's just, you know, my own personal philosophy.
And then with staging, we're selling space, not stuff. So the goal of the staging is to define the rooms, the purpose of the room. So for example, we have staging that was supposed to happen tomorrow and it's gotten pushed to next week. The living room where the TV normally gets set up, there's a big wall in the back. So you would maybe have the couch looking at the wall. But for staging, I'm actually going to put the big primary piece against the wall and keep that open, because it's this property that has these amazing views of the mountains. And so, you know, somebody living there might decide to flip it around and put a TV there. We're going to set up a family room with a TV downstairs, but I feel like you want to keep it as open as possible while defining the space and the use of the room. So, excellent. All right, for pricing, how do you price your projects?
So there is, much like Teresa said, there's a walk out the door. So for an occupied staging, mine's normally $1,900, but I'm going to bring in small pieces, whatever's required. And that, in the event that something gets ruined, then, you know, I already have that built in. For a vacant staging, it usually is about $3,000. And that's minimum, that's 3 rooms furnished, and then your kitchen countertops and your master. So
for 90 days, right?
That's anything below 3,000 square feet. So anything more than 3,000 square feet, then I'm going to price it a little higher.
So, and what is that, the time, is that for 60, 90, 30 days, the 3?
60 days. Yeah,
60
days. And usually in Houston, 60 days is a great time frame for us, because we can normally list it, sell it, have all the option periods, the inspections over and done with. And normally I find that we're able to close by the end. So without them having to pay for an additional month, which is always my goal. I want it to be one and done.
Right, absolutely. And positioning furniture, will use the walls. So sometimes it depends on how big or small the space is. Joseph was asking, do we put it up against the wall? Do you pull it forward? So if the room's large enough, you can float it forward. It doesn't be slabbed up against the wall. And it's certainly if like the walls are far apart, you don't have like one piece way over here and then another piece here, like, hello, pass me the remote or pass me the coffee. You know, you want to have it be conversational, right? So we judge all that when we are coming up with the plan. We also consider traffic access through the rooms and flow when we're coming up with the staging. So, so how do you run your day?
So the day before, as I said, I'll go into the warehouse. I'll tag all the furniture that the guys are going to pull. I also will have laid out the design of the rooms that we're going to stage, so that because I'm not there, they need to have a plan so that they know where all the furniture goes. So in the event that I'm not there, that's typically the day before is what that looks like. And then if I am there and we're doing a one-day staging, which we don't do a lot of, but sometimes you know, the realtor has to get it on the market. So if I then we'll go in, we'll tag everything. Actually, what we do first is we'll do all accessory selection. So usually in my mind, I already know what it is that we're going to do. We use the pictures of the fixturing action to bring in any of the artwork so that it's kind of seamless and cohesive. And from there, we'll load up the van with the accessories. We'll go to the warehouse. I'll have the third-party movers meet us at the warehouse. We'll tag everything. We would get to the property about 11. So for us, you know, much like we get to the property until about 11, and usually we're out the door at 3. So that's a larger staging, would be about 4 hours.
And then Joseph's asking pricing. So usually the proration, some stagers will do a daily proration once the minimum term is met, or like we offer a 2-week proration once the minimum term is met. So they're not necessarily obligated for the next full month, but there are companies that do a daily rate. Some people choose to do a weekly rate. So that's subjective. It's not one, it's not one industry standard. So, and then what is your signature for vacants?
So I have several. The one thing, much like Teresa, is I really pay attention to detail. I like to do really creative things. So I love to use fairy lights. If you haven't ever used fairy lights for centerpieces, just makes it magical. You put some batteries in there and put it on a timer, and it really sets the stage. I love to use mirrors. So as you guys can probably see, I love to use reflection of mirrors. So back here in my office, I have, flowers in front of the mirrors. Just makes it a little magical. I also love to use wind chimes. So in a lot of the homes here in Houston, they have the spotlights, but they don't necessarily have a focal point like a chandelier or that kind of thing. So I will use wind chimes, which requires no lighting. We'll just put a screw in the ceiling, and it looks like a chandelier, but it didn't require light.
What a great idea.
Very magical.
Yeah, and I'd love to see pictures of that too. I don't think I've ever noticed that. I probably thought it was a light fixture. That's a great use of repurposing an item. Fairy lights, Kathy, are just the little white lights on a strand, and they have a battery. So they're basically like Christmas lights, but they're smaller, and some of them are even like on a thin, like a not a wire, help me, a fishing line, sometimes like that. So they're little. You can cluster them, put them in a glass votive. You can have them. They do add a lot. I've seen them as centerpieces. I've never thought about using them for staging. I think that's a genius idea, and it does make the kind of what you're saying. I love that word, magical. So that's great. That's awesome. So we are right at 10:30. I can't believe how fast that went. Thank you, everybody, for being on. And so I just want to mention we do have a fast track session. So it's called Focus Accelerated Stager Training through the association when you're a member. And one of the segments is actually a vacant staging project planner. So it's a 1-hour webinar that you can watch at your own time. It comes included with your membership. All of our fast track sessions come included. And so it's 16 steps. I broke down the 16 steps to plan a vacant project. And then once you watch that, then you're going to get some spreadsheets for how to track your projects and inventory and so forth. Those, and even for planning your inventory, spreadsheets that will help you with pricing your projects so you know that you're making money on your items and your time and so forth. So that's the fast track sessions through the association. Well, I wanted you guys to be able to come off on the conference call. I suppose the session is live, so I don't have to just stick to an hour. But I want to be respectful of your guys' time. So thank you, Andrea, for being on. Is there anything else you want to share?
No, just if I can help anyone, or if you'd like me to add you to my private Facebook page that just is kind of a portfolio of my work, I'm happy to do so. Just, put it in the comments and I'll add you.
That'd be great. And everybody watching, again, please share this segment so we reach as many people as possible. So next week, our segment is going to be, thanks, Andrea. I appreciate you being on.
Thank you.
Hi. So next week, our segment is going to be forget millionaire listing. Let's talk millionaire staging business. And our guest speakers we'll have on here will be Leslie and Leanne Kramer from San Antonio, Blair Hamity from Boston, actually Plymouth, Boston area, and also Young Kim from Washington, D.C., who all have seven-figure businesses, and we're going to be able to ask how they got there and their process and so forth. So join us next Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. See you guys live next week. Thanks for being on. I appreciate it. Bye, everybody.